Okay. So, do you have questions about the if statement? That's pretty simple, right? And then you're gonna have a requirement of work which is really hard, and your boss is gonna say, "Oh, just do an if statement." They always say that for some reason. They don't understand. Especially when you deal with databases. Alright, so you could test multiple things. So I have an if statement with one condition. This is my else. And I'm just going to call this condition 1 for now. So you're testing something, and based on that, if this condition is true, you're going to test something else. You can have another if statement here. Once you're inside the if statement, the computer doesn't know how we got there. It just knows there's an instruction I need to execute. I don't know what the previous instruction was. So you can have a condition 2 here. And here you can have also third condition. Nothing stops you from doing that. That's called an embedded if statement. So, the embedded if statement, you gotta be careful. It might get really cumbersome. For instance, let me erase this for now for a second. And your grades, you have a grading scale. And I said, if you got 90 or above, you get an A. You got 80 or above, you get a B. 70 or above, you get a C. 60 or above, you get a D. Otherwise, you get an F. Less than 60, right? I don't know what happened to the E. So, notice when I display this in my syllabus, they're in order. I don't say greater than 90 you get an A, then 70 or greater you get a C, and then 80 and greater you get a B. No, they're in order. You pick an order, ascending or descending. So, I'm going to have a couple of variables. I'm going to call this points and a grade. And I'm going to ask myself, hey, what does what's the grade of this student? I'm just gonna put a number here. Let's say you got 85.6. Sounds like a radio station. So I can make a series of if statements to determine your grade. So I can have an if statement, and I'll say if the point is greater or equal than, I'm probably going to define the thresholds, but for now I'm going to hard code it in 90. Then C grade equals, we get an A, right? Because you're an awesome student. But if you're not quite that awesome, but you're still awesome, you get 80 or above. So I have my if statement, and I'm going to put an else. And I'm going to make this long. Inside my else, I'm going to write another if statement. Right? And we use single quotes because we are delimiting the single character. Then we got the else. So I'm having this series of embedded if statements.
Question.
Yeah.
Is there a way to do this all on one line so you don't have to keep on writing if else, if else, if else?
Yeah. Just get an A. Alright. Trust me, I wish I had copy paste in the board. So, my point here, alright, so you gotta get down to D. Do I need to test again if it's less than 60?
Yeah, because it'll stay at a D, right?
Alright, so if it's not an A, do I need to test again?
Yeah.
Why?
If it's less than all these statements are saying greater than.
I mean, if it's not an A, B, C, D, is there anything else that can be other than an F?
No.
No.
It could be a Z, they don't know it's not.
I mean, by default, if it's not all of the above, gotta be an F.
Well, you have to declare those before though, right?
Declare what? I'm sorry.
Like, I mean, not declare necessarily, but you have those statements on the left you have in the brown, with a, 90 is greater than or equal to A, you have to have those in order for the computer to know it's an F, right? Because otherwise, how does it know it's F and not Z, or, you know what I mean?
Well, I need to assign.
Assign them, yeah.
Yeah, but what my question was, do I need another if statement? No, I have 5 possibilities, right? I got 4 if statements. If I have 10 possibilities, I'll have 9 if statements. If you were to write this in a UML diagram, it'll look like this. See if I can fit it. So the first question is points. I'm just gonna do greater or equal than 90. And in the diagram, doesn't matter which way it goes, yes or no. So I'm gonna use yes to the left here. So grade equals A. So if it's true, if it's no, what I do is ask again. Is it greater or equal than 80? So it says yes, it says no. And then I keep asking questions here. And when I ask if it's greater or equal than 60, and grade here is a D, otherwise call F. So that diagram matches this. Problem is, it can get really cumbersome if I have a lot of if statements, and I would like to simplify this a little bit. So how many lines do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16. Also, know that this one matches this one, right? This one matches that one. And this one matches this one. You gotta be careful with your curly brackets. How you define your codes of the blocks of code. So actually I can move things up a little bit. Diagram doesn't change. Oh, let's see if it fits. The camera. Yeah. But I can simplify this just a little bit for now. So we call it else ifs. Oh, by the way, if everything fails, you get an F, right? That's the last else. So all our if statements fail, and at the end you get an F. So we call this a default or trailing else. Alright, so you can make your else with the if together. They call it else if. So the number of ifs don't change. It's just, it looks a little bit better.
Is it more readable this way, or?
The computer doesn't care. Speed in the processing is the same. But you tell me if you're looking at this code indented that way or just this. It's up to you. There's no correct way.
So how do the brackets work in the second layout? You don't have to bracket it anymore?
How many lines do I execute? One, right?
Yeah.
So if I can add the brackets, but if I only have one line of code to execute, it doesn't matter. I could have them here. It works the same way. If you're uncertain, use the brackets. Use the curly brackets. You can't go wrong with those. Questions? All right. How many of you read this before? See, when you go to the pool on the weekend, grab the book and at least it'll cover your face from sunburn. Yeah.
I don't know, but there's no return zero at the end of this one.
Oh, this is assume it's inside the main or function, whatever. Yeah, this is just partial code.
Is it?
All right. So sometimes, basically you have a range here, right? So basically from 90, including 90 to 100, you get an A, and 80 inclusive and 90 exclusive, you get a B, and so on. That's called a range. But because we had it in order, we're able to do it with just one condition in each if statement. But sometimes you would like to combine the conditions. Let me erase this. Let me give you an example. I know it might not be true, but let's say if you want to retire, I know it's a long, long way for you. I said I was going to retire when I was 30.
What happened?
Divorce. So I some places, the retirement age is different for male and female. Let's say female is 55 years and male is 60. And then it's also conditions as how many years you worked and blah blah blah, and it's really complex. But let's keep it simple. In our pretend example, we're gonna say if you're male, you can retire at 60. If you're female, you can retire at 55 years old. Okay. So you need two variables, right? One will be the age. What type of variable would you use for the age? An integer, right? Because you don't care if he's, unless you're a kid. My nephew is like, I'm 5.5 years old. But you don't say that when you're older. Actually, you stop having birthdays. You celebrate your 25th birthday anniversary.
Yep. 29 over and over.
Yeah, it's just. So you use an integer, right? Or your age. What will you use for the gender? You use a character. How many possibilities are in a character? 255, right? 256. So will you use a character for a gender?
I don't know these days.
Well, Australia is the only country that allows in the passport to have an X. Here you still says male or female. So how many possibilities are those? It's two, right? There's a variable that only takes two values, right? A Boolean. So you pick if it's male or it's female. I typically pick is male just because I have to type two less characters. That's the only reason. Or you can pick whichever you like. So I just do is male. Or is female, whatever. So I'm gonna give some random. So let's say this person is 55 and is male equals true. So that person needs to work, right? Can't retire yet. So you will have a series of if statements, but there are two variables you have to test, and they're two different. So we can start with either one. You pick. If we start with the gender, if you start with the gender, then you test the age of the male. Otherwise, you know it's a female. Then you test the age of the female. Right? So I need a couple more ifs here. And I'll ask if the age is greater or equal than 60. I'm gonna do printf. You can retire. Right? Otherwise, keep working. And here, then I test if the age is greater or equal than 55. And then So whatever values we give, in this case, smell true, yeah, so it goes into this portion, goes in, go over here. And then the next thing it tests is the age. And it's 55, so it prints keep working. Now if I were to change this to 65, then it'll say, yeah, you can retire, right? Or if I had it as 55, and it's not a male, then she can retire, right? So my code is correct using those embedded ifs, 3 if statements. But there's only 2 outcomes, right? Remember when I had 5 possibilities, I have 4 if statements. But this is the other way. I got more if statements than outcomes. And notice this code, the same as this code, right? And this is the same as this. But what if I didn't have 1 line of code? What if I have 100 lines there for each part? Would you copy paste that code? You know what I say about copy pasting code? I can say it, I'm being recorded. Oh, unless it's like 1 or 2 lines, you don't copy paste code, that's sloppy. So you gotta make it efficient. So to make it efficient, I want to combine. I want to make 1 if that says keep working or you can retire. I don't want to copy paste this code. I mean, I had to debug somebody else's program and they copy pasted code so much. I really didn't like that person. So, how do you combine things? So we had the list of logical operators before. And I assume most of you are going to computer science, right? So, I mean, it's a fun job until you say, oh, my printer doesn't work. I'm like, I don't care. That's a hardware issue. That's IT. But then you're the only one and it's like, fine. You owe me Starbucks. You can't be bribed. Well, you got a list of tickets, right? And if you want somebody to bump their ticket up, well, you know, Hawaiian barbecue sounds great for lunch. All right, so, anyways. So there's another, you're gonna take this class about circuits, circuit design, computer organization, how it actually works, the voltage and all that stuff. You're gonna learn about gates. And there are 3 types of gates. There's the AND, OR, NOT. And there's another one called exclusive OR, which is a combination. And we're gonna deal with just the AND, OR, and the NOT. You saw what the NOT is, right? You just put the exclamation mark at the beginning. I don't know why they picked that one. So, you have an AND. So you got a condition, 2 sets of conditions. I got 2 conditions here, right? So you got a condition 1 and a condition 2. And this condition 1 can be true or false, and condition 2 could be true or false. So this could be true or false. And this also could be true or false. using those logical operators or a variable. But if you want to make sure both conditions are true, then you must say, oh, I want to know that condition 1 is true and condition 2 is true, to say the overall statement is true. And like we do double equal signs to compare things, to do a logical AND, we use two AND signs. If we want to do, if a condition 1 is true or the condition 2 is true, as long as one of the two is true, then we have a logical OR, and we use those bars. Those are the ones on top of the energy. So a logical AND and a logical OR. And you can combine conditions. If you combine ANDs and ORs, use parentheses to make sure you're not screwing up. So if I want to combine this into one single if statement, I'll write it like this. Let's say if so if it's a male, do I need to say equals true? No, because this is a Boolean variable.